bringing an awesome guest to you guys, Gavin Timms. Gavin's a personal friend of mine, known him for years. He is coaching hundreds of students, crushing it. And today we got to bring him on. We're going to actually be talking about cold calling with Gavin. And this is something that Mike and I have really, we haven't done a lot of it until recently. I think as of right now, we have four callers that are each working 20-hour shifts. So you're looking at, what is that, 20, 40, 60, about 80 hours a week of cold calling going out. And we've been doing it for, what do you think, Mike, maybe 3 months, give or take.
Well, we've had them on the team for about 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. Like, doing it in bulk. But again, Gavin's the master at this. He's got a course and everything. So we just wanted to have him on and talk cold calling. Gavin, how the hell are you, man?
I'm good, guys. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing awesome.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, it's always a good time. We've done a couple of podcasts together, so I appreciate it. And yeah, especially it's crazy when I listen to you. You guys have been super successful in the business. And the beautiful thing is with marketing is there's so many ways to obviously get leads, right? And the fact that you guys have just started cold calling over the last few months is just crazy to me, because it's my number one lead gen, but obviously whatever you've been doing is successful as well. And I think that's the beauty of marketing. So,
what? That's the beauty of marketing. Like you said, there's 100 ways to do it. And we tell this to our students too, Gavin, is all of them work. It's
absolutely.
Just, are you going to be consistent enough with the method that you choose? Right.
Yep.
So love that, man. Love that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And they come in at different costs as well, right? Like a cold call lead potentially is not going to be a direct mail. It's not going to be a PPC lead, right? But the cost of the lead is going to be much, much lower. And for me, in our business, on the real estate side, 90% of the deals we do close from follow-up, right? So we're not closing these coming straight in, very rarely. We just closed one in Florida last week for $20,000 that came in. We locked it up within 2 days. We sent it to closing within 3 weeks. We get a $20,000 check. Am I going to sit here and say that happens every time? Absolutely not, right? That's probably the second one all year that's actually happened to. The majority will be, I'm a believer in that there's a lead gen side and the consistency of it. And if you want to consistently market, it needs to be as an entrepreneur and what we do, it needs to be done by somebody else, right? i.e. cold callers. Because if it relies on us, and people watching this that are just, they work on their own, there's no consistency there. That's where it stops and starts. We know marketing comes down to consistency, as you just said. So outsourcing all that, having cold callers do that, generating leads on a day-to-day basis. And the good thing is that I've probably talked about this on a podcast with you, Dave, before, but I look at everything in reverse. That when I get it into the CRM, the process then begins to get the deal closed, okay? But the first phase is to get the leads in. Now, if you think about it for a hopper, I don't just blast leads in because everyone teaches more leads equals more deals. Now, that is very, very true. But if I say that 90% of the deals that I close comes from follow-up, right? Why does everyone focus on 90% of their time on lead gen and new leads? Doesn't make any sense. So if you are producing too many leads and you're just talking to new people and not following up, doesn't mean you're going to do more deals, in my opinion, especially with a technique of cold calling or text messaging. So that's what we do. So I can literally play in each market that I'm in. I can deliver on how many leads I want on a day-to-day basis, and we make sure we hit them first, and then we go into the follow-up because we know that, again, 90% of what we close will be down the line from marketing that came in months ago.
Man, you nailed it. I agree 100% with everything you just said. Literally.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Follow-up's the name of the game, though, guys. I mean, if you're watching or you're listening to this, 90% of people don't go past the second or third follow-up. So just think of that. If you want to eliminate your competition in this business, follow up more than 2 or 3 times. And you literally have eliminated 90% of the competition. So if you're following up 7, 10, I mean, Gavin, we have leads in our system from 6, almost 7 years ago when Mike and I first started wholesaling. Before we were even working together, We each had systems that we brought in whenever we partnered up, and we're still working some of these leads to where, you know, our follow-up schedule may be every 6 months or maybe even every year, right? Where they say, yeah, I'm not interested today, call me in a year. And guess what? We do call them back in a year. So in the follow-up, it's so important. You know, we tell this to our students too. Our average deal, you know, comes in typically between the 4 to 6 month mark. So call it about 5 months. And that doesn't mean that every lead that comes in takes 5 months to close, right? But on average, right? If you average out the last 7 years worth of data, on average, it's about 5 months, you know, because
100%.
People, and maybe they're not motivated when they first raise their hand, right? I
didn't tell you this. The one, the little Church Road one, I believe that one was imported into our system in 2016.
This is the one that we're
closing next week. Yeah, closing next week.
Okay.
We imported it back in 2016. I think we did some direct mail, and then we moved it over to the new system, started following up again on a different campaign, and we're closing it next week. So again, we were working on that for, about 4 years. So again, it's a follow-up on this lead. He wasn't motivated at the time. Now he is. It's awesome.
This is an interesting one. Mike, tell him about this one just real quick, because this is like this is North City, isn't it?
It's a North City area.
Gavin, you know about North City, St. Louis, buddy?
Some degree, yeah.
Worst crime in the States. It's terrible. There's a war zone, right?
Yeah, you're not gonna hang out. Sure.
Yeah, it's not
a home run, but a couple grand, right?
So it's a Baden area. So that's kind of like one of the, just from what I know, it's one of the Bible areas up there in North City. We text this person so that the communication, it was cold texting at this point, kind of almost a new lead, I would say, because we restarted our follow-up campaign. So we text back and forth, put it under contract for $6,000. He's out of town. Had his property manager put a lockbox. I ran up there. I said, I don't want this property.
Literally, I don't want it.
I took pictures of it, said, I don't want it. Let's go ahead and market it because we've got it under contract. And our phones blew up on it. I think we marketed it at 9, and somebody came in at 10,000 because they wanted it that bad.
Over our ass, man. Like I said, we'll end up making like $4,000, right? Not a home run by any means, but here's the funny thing is that we didn't even really want the lead. Mike just said, I don't want the house.
I don't even want to go.
Did we have it under contract before we went?
Correct.
So he went already. He was like, I don't even want this, but we already had it under contract. So now he's got pictures. So it's like, we might as well just send it out, see what happens, right? And really, this is funny, guys. You know, the longer you do something, the luckier you get, right? Everyone knows that whole thing. So really, though, we're in a new CRM now, and we're still kind of learning how it works. So this was just an opportunity to add photos, send it out to the list. I mean, really, we weren't even really expecting to have any calls at all. You know, we're just like, let's learn the system with this. So deals will fall into your lap as long as you are following up with people. It just happens.
Yeah, well, you've got to be in it to win it, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, let's get back to the cold calling stuff though with Gavin, because I'm sure you've got a lot of great tips. One of the things that you said was if you do it yourself, it's not going to be consistent. And I guess what I'm thinking back from like a new student's perspective or a new fledgling entrepreneur, if they don't have the budget, I mean, do you recommend they do some of the cold calling themselves or how's that look in your
curious as myself?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that is a great question. There's two types of marketing. There's proactive and reactive, right? So we're talking about a proactive marketing piece here. And I believe that if you're having conversations with people own property. Where there's people, there's problems, right? So what I teach is that you have to look for the people, okay? And where there's people in their problems, well, then there's the real estate for you, all right? But if you don't have a budget, then yes, you've got to work harder. There's 3 things in this business, okay? There's time, money, or both, okay?
I love it. We
thing, man.
Time,
100%,
or both, right? It's not really or, it's and.
So
right?
if someone comes, I don't like to use the word broke, but let's just get to the point and be honest. If someone's broke and they don't have any time, something's got to give, right? You got to find some time, all right? Or you got to find some money. Right. And again, if you can do both, then you can do both. For me, when I got going, I left my job, right? I didn't have the money. I had the time. So I just pounded the phone. And I understood early on that by having conversations, and if you have enough of them, it's going to produce deals. So yes is the answer. If you don't have the funds, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. You just got to work harder than the other person that has the system, that has the VA cold callers or the American cold callers, whatever they're doing. But you need to obviously get in the right headspace. I think mindset is everything for cold calling and in business in general. I mean, it's brutal. I'm not going to lie. To sit on a dialer and just start pounding the phone is brutal. But if you want it enough, you've got to do what you got to do to make it happen. But you have to have an exit plan, because then it's more manageable. If you go and start calling and you just don't see the end of this ever stopping, then you're probably going to give in. But if you know that you just got to do this for a month or 2 months or whenever to get that first deal, to make that first check, to then go and get that cold caller, to then give you some freedom back to then focus on more quality leads, then that's what I suggest that they do.
100% agree. Once again, love that.
Yeah.
Love that. But, once somebody gets beyond, let's say their first deal or 2 or 5, right? And now they have some money, right? Yeah. They've done some deals and hopefully paid themselves back for all of their previous marketing. But now they can afford at this point to take anywhere from 10 to maybe 40, 50% even on some deals and put back into their marketing budget. From there, hire it out.
So
advice on that.
Yeah, so if they do that, which is exactly what I recommend, I'm also big on spreading the budget over multiple months to keep you consistent. Okay,
love that.
So don't go in and go make $5,000. Okay, we're going to put 2,500, back in, or we've done 10 grand and we're going to put $5,000 in month 1, because what happens is that you will get overwhelmed with leads and then things will be missed. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to work the process and it won't work, right? Consistency is the key. So if I have 5,000 to put back in the business, I'd probably spread that over 3 months. So I'd give myself a budget of 1,600 a month, whatever it would come to. So I'd have 1,600 a month for then 3 months. Okay. And then what I would do is, let's say in that first month, I go and do another deal. I will then now go 2,500 a month for 3 months. And I will start to grow that out, but it will. So we know it's real estate. We might have a bad month. We might not have a close, but it's okay because my consistency is going to be there. So that's how I would do it. And I would definitely go towards cold calling because it is a cheaper, lead generation.
I 100% agree. Gavin, whenever somebody gets to that point where they have a little bit of a budget, right, and they don't necessarily want to trade their own time, what do you recommend personally for going out and finding these people? I know there's a lot of different ways. Some people will go to Facebook groups and find their virtual assistants that way. Other people may go to, certain websites to find them. What do you recommend?
Yeah, so I like, I have obviously connections now in the Philippines, but if I'm just new like I was, I like Upwork. Okay, upwork.com. And I keep things very simple. I don't run big ads. I run little 2 sentences in my ad of what I want. Okay, so if I'm hiring a cold caller, it's going to be someone that's got cold calling experience. Okay, must have great English. And real estate's not a must, right? And also the dialer that they're going to be using as well, they need to have experience. So experienced cold caller within 1 to 2 years, great English. The dialer, whatever you're using, the platform they already need to be trained on, and real estate is not a must. That's pretty much what my ad says.
Yeah, real estate is a must whenever you're doing this cold calling. That's such a great golden nugget right there, is that you necessarily have to have.
If they've done insurance, they've been working for one of the airlines. I don't care. If they're used to talking to people and consistently on the go, that's all I need. Okay, because we have scripts to give them, and they'll mold in. But when we put this ad out, you're going to get a ton of people, right, to start applying. So within probably 24 hours, you're going to turn the ad off, right? And then it's 3.
Oh, wow, did you hear that? It's only going to take 24 hours to get a flood of people.
Yeah, and then you're going to be like, this is crazy. So then there's 2 more steps I'm going to give people that they need to do. Yep. You're going to look at their like completion rate. There's a percentage of what they've done on other jobs of satisfaction and completion, right? And you want to keep that over 90%. You don't want to hire someone at 40% because obviously things aren't going well. So you can give feedback on there when they've took different jobs. So you want to be over 90%. And then the next move that you need to do, okay, is that you send everyone a message and you say, hey, can you send me a recording 1 minute long telling me about yourself? Okay. So what this will do is you will eliminate a lot because they won't do it. And then when the ones that do it, you'll actually listen to their voice to say, you've got good English. No, 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 you're good. No, 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 you're good. Narrow it down, 3 people, then you interview all 3. So now you've just gone from 30 applications to 3. And within a couple of days, you're ready to hire and ready to go.
What was the
That's
third part?
awesome, man.
Yeah,
I love
that. I like
that.
that. So go on Upwork, look at the completion and the satisfaction rate, keep that above 90%.
Yep.
Ask them to send you a 1 minute recording, just telling them about yourself. And then was there a third thing I missed?
Yeah, so once you've done that, and you get them in, there's going to only be a percentage that do it, but that's how you're going to then be able to listen.
How you're narrowing down, right?
So you're narrowing it down, and then the ones that you like, oh, they sound great, they sound good, then you can interview them ones, right? So then you'll get on a Zoom call, and then you want to make sure that that they sound how they did on the recording, because obviously I'm from England, so I speak decent English, but people can do obviously 10, 20, 100 attempts, right, to get this recording perfect. So, and that's fine if they've gone to that length to get in front of you,
because they may do that, right?
Is that 100%?
Great, because it makes them sound amazing with that one sentence, or maybe a little bit like a paragraph. But whenever you get free flowing here and you got to come up with words, they may stumble in, and or they may have a thicker accent, outside of that paragraph because they've studied it, right? So great piece of advice.
Yeah.
Love that.
So on the interview, you're going to pick up on that, right? Absolutely. So when you're engaging, well, tell me, so I got your video, you're recording, and you just engage with some questions, no, these are really good. Then it's plugging them in, and then within 10 minutes, I believe that they should be ready to cold call. If they've hired and they know the platform that you want, they've got experience, all I say is, this is how we tag the properties, here's the script. Within 5 to 10 minutes, they're ready to go, and then we'll monitor the progress from there.
Man, I love that. All right, so that's how we're going to find our cold callers, guys. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. That's one method. There's other methods as well. Here's another place that you can go that's going to flood. You're going to get flooded, right? Go on Facebook. There's 2 or 3 big groups. I'm talking like 30 to 50,000 people. Just type in type in virtual assistant real estate. It's that simple. There's going to be groups of people, and you can just go into these and literally drop a comment that says, hey, I'm looking for some cold callers, connect with me via this email or whatever, or DM me. And I'm telling you, you're going to have to delete the post after like 45 minutes because you're just going to get like 100,000 people being like, I need a job, or I'm ready to work, or whatever. So great ways. You don't get the advantage of having the completion or the satisfaction rate through Upwork. So that probably is a better approach. But again, lots of ways to go about finding these individuals. So love it. Now moving on. So we get somebody we like, and they're a good fit. We like their energy, and that's really the most important thing, guys. In my opinion, is their energy over accent. I would rather have somebody that has a really thick accent but is energetic. They're excited to be on the phone. They're not gonna, after they get told no 5 or 6 times, like, just Dave, I'm calling. No, they're like, hey, we know you got this property. Have any interest in selling? We want that energy, because that's what keeps people on the phone and it makes them, want to talk to you. So now that you've found that person, then what do you recommend in terms of, softwares to get them going, Gavin?
So there's different dialers out there, and they're all good, right? They're all doing a similar thing. Everyone's trying to achieve the same goal, and the interfaces are a little different, right? The one that I've been operating for the longest time is Mojo. Mojo Sells. That's the one that we operate on, but also Call Tools is good. And then there's obviously Batch. Batch are bringing out, I know we're big Batch fans in multiple products that we do with them. They're coming in the game, and from what they've done already, they're probably going to take over. So they're getting going here on the dialer as well. But yeah, I would say they would be my top 3 in terms of auto dialers. And what they are, just for anyone listening, is an auto dialer is that you're going to be calling multiple people at the same time. So you're dialing more people, which will lead to more conversations. Okay. That's what it is. Spending more time on the phone and, looking for people that are, again, got problems, that are interested in offer, interested in selling. And that's it for me, because we have the creative side as well, not just cash. My script isn't just like, we'll sell within 7 days, we'll pay cash, blah, blah, blah. Because you have got the creative finance, and this works for realtors as well, of them leads coming in, that if they're interested in offering, interested in selling, it's good enough for us to bring that lead in to have a conversation, find out what's going on.
100% agree. I love it. So Gavin mentioned Mojo Sells, Call Tools, Batch Dialer. Those guys are crushing it as well. Lots of different options. There's one other that I want to mention. If you are exclusively in Podio, smartphone, they have a dialer as well. All of these work great, guys. They're all, like you said, though, they're all trying to accomplish the same thing, and they do. Shouldn't say trying. They do. They all accomplish the same thing. They're going to allow you, and I actually built on what you just said, Gavin, but I added to it, right? So you just said, you can call multiple people at the same time, spend more time on the phone. But really, here's the cool part. You can spend more time on the phone without spending more time on the phone. Think about that for a second, right? Because you're not going to be manually dialing. For one, that's super time consuming. Two, you're not going to be dealing with the ringing. You're gonna have 3 or 4 of these going on simultaneously with these auto dialers, right? So you're not even going to hear any of the ringing. It's just going to connect you whenever somebody's there. You're 3 to 4 to maybe even as many as 10 times more likely, assuming you went and scaled up to 10 lines at a time. People do it. It's crazy. Yep. I stick to 3 or 4 just because
I do 3 as well.
Yeah. But again, whatever you want to do, go do that. But man, I love that. I mean, you can literally spend more time on the phone without spending more time on the phone. That's awesome.
Yeah, because you're exactly right. Because you're individually dialing, you got to pull the next lead up. You're individually, and all this takes time. And if no one's answering, you might have done an hour, and you still haven't had a conversation yet, right? Where the dialer's just feeding you people that are going to pick up the phone, pretty much. And everyone watching this as well, don't overthink it. Like, people think. I come from a coaching background, right? But people think the system is the answer, right? It doesn't matter what you're using. It doesn't matter what CRM you're using. Now, obviously, some CRMs are better than others, but it comes down to opinions. And they're all, again, trying to achieve the same goal, keeping you organized. Maybe some automation on there, right? All these things of organization, the same with the dialer, they're all calling. But people just keep swapping dialers and think that's the answer.
Yeah, it's
not the answer, right? You can be more efficient, and one might be cheaper. One might operate in a better way for you
you may
your mind to work
or something like that, right? But at the end of the day, they're all doing the same basic functions. They're designed to put you on the phone with a property owner, or drop a voicemail so then they can call you back. But again, the goal is to get on the phone. And I tell that to a lot of my students too, Gavin, with regardless of what type of marketing you're doing, right? So we're obviously focused on cold calling here today. But if you wanted to do direct mail, if you wanted to do bandit signs, if you wanted to do radio or television ads, if you wanted to do billboards, right? All of these things are collecting data or putting your marketing message in front of others so they call you. So even if you go do an AdWords campaign or a Facebook campaign, you're still just collecting data to where to then call them, right? So regardless of what you're doing, the end goal essentially is to have them call you or you call them. Even if you're texting, the end goal is really to get them on the phone. You can't make a first text message. You got to figure out to actually schedule, some time to talk with these individuals. Love that.
100%. Yeah. And that's where people get it wrong. Because you have to, there's a point in life, right? And in this business, because it's hard, when you have to look at yourself and say, am I doing the things? Am I taking the necessary action, right, to get results? And that's what it comes down to. And of course, I set systems up for people, right? But I'm also not deluded that I have to explain that just because you have this system doesn't mean this will make you successful. It's going to help, but you have to be putting in the work and doing them step-by-step things, right? And we talked about the cold calling course that I have. One section's about mindset, because if you don't have the right mindset going in, it's not going to work, right? And that's the mindset of a cold caller. Again, like we talked about, the guy with no money or the gal with no money. What does it take? Well, yeah, they've got to grind. They've got to do it, right? They've got to. If they have that time, unfortunately, yes, you're going to have to sit there. Maybe you can't even afford a dialer, so unfortunately, you are going to have to put each number in.
Yeah, and you know what? Hey guys, you can do it from your own cell phone, or you can find tools like Google Voice, right? They're going to limit you on how many you're going to be able to do in a day, especially if you're texting versus calling. Calling probably actually unlimited, right? But you can still copy and paste those over. So there are free solutions. But Gavin, you summed it up earlier when you said it's time or money or often both, right? So it's the same way. I love that.
Absolutely.
So okay, cool. Well, that's great, guys. So go online to find these people. Gavin recommends Upwork. I think that's a great way to do this. Lots of dialers out there, right? We recommend, of course, Mojo. Batch Dialer is one of our favorites. Smartphone's great with Podio. Call Tools, I've heard good things. Never used it personally, but again, heard great things. And again, the reason that we're doing this is because of the auto dialer capabilities. Also, they have many CRMs built in. So, Gavin, this may seem so counterintuitive, but when we have a new student, we do not even recommend them go set up a CRM.
And
because it's a rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
We want them to get a deal or two, so that way it pays for itself as well. But we also want them to focus on the things that matter, which is the marketing, which could be cold calling or sending mail or whatever. We don't want them spending hours, if not days, if not weeks. Mike and I have probably wasted months, literally,
for
in
sure.
CRMs playing with all the little bells and whistles. And before you know it, 6 hours goes by and you haven't made a call.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, our website looks really great, but you got 7 people did this quarter. Like 7.
Yeah.
Wow. So CRMs are great, but here's the coolest part, guys. These have built-in CRMs. They're not going to have all the bells and whistles to do all the automatic follow-up, but you don't need it. All right. Mike and I are big believers that CRMs are basically provide 2 services with a bunch of extra stuff, but there's 2 that matter. It's the ability to stay organized by taking notes, and then the ability to create a task to follow up. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. And you can add 100 bells and whistles that maybe make it easier to determine what's going on there, right? Or easier to determine those comps, or even set up a follow-up that's automated, right? Very, very cool features. But at the end of the day, take notes and make a task to follow up. And all of these tools are going to have that ability in there too, which I love. And I just don't want to, not mention that, because, we have students that are just in Mojo, or they're just in Batch Leads.
Yeah.
And they maybe have a prop stream access, and now they don't even really need that because Batch is bringing in their own lists and their own comps and all that good stuff. But less is more. So don't go get 2 or 3 of these dialers or try to do 2 or 3 types of marketing at once, unless you've got one dialed in and you've mastered it. Love it. Gavin, you nailed it right there. All right, cool. So the systems don't matter, guys. It's the people, right? You need to have one, essentially, if you want to automate this and speed it up. But at the end of the day, one's not necessarily better than the other. It's really just a preference. They all do the same thing. And quite honestly, the pricing's pretty close. We're talking maybe 10 or 15 bucks difference between the products, that we just mentioned. So love it. Gavin, let's jump in to, what the hell we actually do once we start making these calls, right? So you get a dialer set up, you go get yourself a list, and you can get those lists from multiple places online, or hopefully you're creating your own list via Driving for Dollars. That's our favorite way to create a list. So once you have the list, you import these in. You have to skip trace them, of course, but then you import these then into the dialer. What's next?
Yeah. So then, obviously, once you've set it up in the dialer, you have to then create the categories that you are gonna categorize into. Okay. Oh, did I lose you?
No, we're here.
Oh, you're frozen on my side. Anyway, I'm going to keep talking. So once they're in the dialer ready to go, we categorize into groups. So when they have conversations, we move them into groups that are very simple. It's into 4 categories of, are they interested in selling, or they're not, is it sold, or do they need a callback, right? Very simple. When you're dealing with VAs, okay, or team members, right? The easier and simpler it is, the faster that you can train someone to do it. The only reason that I say I can get someone going within 10 minutes is because it is so easy.
Right.
I'm not saying that it's the best, and I could have it like send here and zap there and do this. That's all good, but then you got to train on that. And then if one thing goes down, the whole thing's now stopped working. I want everyone to be operating all the time. Unless the auto dial is down, we're moving and we're on. Okay, so we keep it simple. What we choose to do is that after any positive leads, we move them from the dialer. So you've just spoke about using it as a CRM, which you can. We don't. We have a CRM, and what we do is that we move them from Mojo into the CRM using a web form. So the VA will actually fill out the web form at the end. If we have 3 leads, they will fill it out with the information. It will populate into the CRM, alert you for then you as the investor to work that lead. Okay, so as much as you don't need systems, you need them, but it depends on your circumstance, the situation that you're in, right? If you're making decent money, you're working 9 till 6 every day, and you want to be investing, when you get off work, you need leads sitting there, in my opinion, ready to call. You can't be coming home, start handwriting letters, right? If you have the money, you've got to invest to get them leads coming in. So when you get off and you're driving home, you're hitting up these people, having conversations and getting offers out. So that's what they need to, that's what we do. That's how it looks.
Let me interrupt you just for 1 sec. So you move them from the dialer to the CRM after they've been qualified, or after they've just raised their hand to say, yeah, I'm interested in hearing an offer?
Again, what's a lead to you, right? And I think if we line 10 people up and we ask them, we get 10 different answers.
Yeah, right.
Right. For me, if they're interested in selling, they're interested in an offer, we gather information. There's 4 things that we try and gather. All right. It's the situation, motivation by asking questions. So we're going to gather kind of what's going on. We're going to try and get a price. We're going to try and get the timeline, and we're going to try and get the condition. Once we get, if they can get all them things, it's going to come into the notes. I want the acquisition or the investor to make the decision on if this is what we need or not. I don't need a VA in the Philippines having to do that. If they're interested in selling, I don't care, because one of the common things that I get is they want over asking, right? And I say, well, why wouldn't they want over asking?
Right. Everybody, right?
Why wouldn't they? The fact that they want to sell and they want over asking, well, let's have a conversation. That's when your sales skills as the investor, the acquisition, comes in to break that down, to find out what's going on, what the reality is, and then actually get the offer out and try and get the deal accordingly. Right? Not the VAs. The VAs going, well, this person is interested, and yeah, they want 10,000 over asking or what it's worth. No problem. We're still going to call them and treat them and find out what's going on, and then structure the offer accordingly.
I love it. Agreed. We do the same thing. Now, another thing I think people often overlook is, we have a lot of tools in our belt. So, we don't even send multiple offer scenarios in our offer, multiple options, I should say, within our offer. We're typically looking for just cash offers at a big discount. So, so there we can decide if we're going to fix and flip, or, do the burst strategy with the rental, or maybe even get it rented and turnkey it, or wholesale. We have all those options at that point, right?
Yep.
Forgot where I was going with that. Help me out.
Nobody ever knows, Dave.
I'm having fun today.
That helped him out. But yeah, you're going with I want to guess. You're going with the multiple offers. So you can make multiple offers if you want, right?
Oh, the tools in my belt. So Mike's a broker.
Tools.
I'm not an agent. Or an agent.
No.
Me neither. Okay. So the point, though, and I didn't interrupt, but let's say somebody has a deal that comes in and they're willing to sell it at 90 cents on the dollar. Well, that's not going to really be a wholesale deal. Probably not a good fix and flip, unless you can really, really make it pretty for nothing, right? Or any other type of deal, but it may make for a great listing opportunity. So we want those leads that come in that, aren't necessarily pre-qualified to be home run deals, but they have raised their hand and said, hey, I do need to sell or want to sell this one. And, maybe they owe too much or whatever the reason is that they can't give you that home run deal. That's still business there. So, sometimes that may be an owner finance play, which we don't really do a ton of, but we know guys that do, and we'll refer those leads for a profit, right? Other times we'll say, hey, we have some agents that work in-house, at the number you're asking, it's probably not going to work for us personally to be the buyer, but we will be more than happy to help you sell it. so on and so forth. So another reason why you don't really want the virtual assistants doing the qualifying. You as the investor want that because, basically we all throw away a lot of money in our leads that we think are trash leads that really aren't. They just require another skill set.
Absolutely. And we always say no lead left behind, right?
There you go.
That's what you're doing.
Ooh, I like that saying.
No lead left behind. Yeah. What can we
Yeah.
do to help this person? Right.
Yeah. 100%. And that's the goal. And you're not going to do that by just going cash on the front side, right? With the VA. The other thing is by keeping it, for me, very general on the front, is that they will run into less objections that they need to overcome, right? Because people say, like, if you get creative finance or lease options and you start going, and the VA starts talking about that, the questions that come at them, they're not going to be able to answer. So the call goes south real quick. So let's not mention it, right? At the end, and then we just have little pass-offs. That's a great question. Gavin's going to answer that. He'll be able to look at that with you. But let me ask you this, and then we ask another question. So they're not getting into deep water. We try and keep them out of deep water by asking, trying to answer something they don't know. But just that's a great question. Gavin will cover that. But let me tell you, how old's the kitchen again? Right? They just got to interact and try and take back over that conversation.
Love it. So in terms of CRMs, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about cold calling. But I'm just curious, though. Do you guys have a CRM that you like? Because there's a lot of them out there. Again, it's similar to these auto dialers, guys. They all do great things. So I'm just curious, what you
CRMs, I mean, again, the CRMs are good and they're important, but they don't make you money. But I operate in two different ones, and I know.
Me too.
I'll explain.
We got three now.
We have three, really.
Which I do not advise. I advise one, right? But we were in Podio.
What you are here not to do, right? We're just trying to tell you the best way, right? So I'm curious, though. So we're in REI for dispositions. We moved over to realestateinvestor.com to help us, with some of that automated follow-up. REI Black Book would do that as well, but realestateinvestor.com, it was just a personal preference. I think we just kind of liked the setup was a little easier.
From Podio, so we migrated
and then we're
Investor.
still in Podio for everything outside of the wholesaling business, all the rental properties and the internal stuff. So we got a lot going on. I'm just curious what you're using.
So Podio, obviously been with Podio for years. So we have a lot of leads. Now, every CRM, they're all very intelligent in terms of when you try and leave them, they make it as hard as possible.
Yes.
Right. As you know, Podio, you can export your leads. You can take the name and number, but it won't let you take any of the notes. Well, we run the whole business on follow-up through the notes, right? So we'd have to go and get a VA or team of VA to individually do it, and there's ways around it.
We did that.
The other thing is, my team likes it the way we have it right now.
Yeah,
don't change it, right? So we have that. Now, what we do for clients and what on a couple of newer campaigns is we use REI Simple. REI Simple is built off FreedomSoft, right? So it's Joe's software. Okay. It's FreedomSoft that we built it off. So that's what we use and kind of set people up on, as well. And that offers more things in one without using third-party companies. So let me explain. Podio, you need Globiflow and Zapier to do things. Within REI, you can have, you can get a phone number. You can send a text from there already. It's already built in as together. You can do automation, workflows. So you can set things up to trigger in 14 days and 30 days. So it helps with a follow-up as well. But there's multiple out there as well that are really good. And it's back to just use something and use it consistently.
Does it do like skip tracing and offer sending and e-signature and all that stuff?
Yeah.
He's got it all built. I didn't realize Joe had that built out. That great.
Well, it's built off Freedom. Yeah, it's built off FreedomSoft.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of, white labeled it, and then we just changed it to kind of tailor for more of his lease option clients. So we went and edited it, more of the contracts and the feel and the look for lease options, the creative side. But it's operated back end staff from FreedomSoft. So we use that as well.
That's sweet. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Very cool.
Cool. All right, guys, we have talked about lots of things, how to hire people today, what kind of systems we're using for our dialers, how to set these systems up easily, right? Use 4-5 different topics because it's going to make it faster to train your individual virtual assistants. Love that. Gavin's shooting to find out 4 things, guys: situation/motivation, price, timeline, and then, of course, condition of that property. Talks a little bit about some of the different CRMs. Other than that, I think the main goal, when we're cold calling, is to obviously make a friend. That's one of the things that, really I focus on first and foremost is, make a friend with that person. They're not going to want to work with you if you aren't friendly with them, and vice versa. So you really want to make a friend. And if they are motivated, set an appointment either for yourself or somebody on your team. And if you're virtual, that could be somebody on your team, or send an offer. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, guys. We can't make any money in real estate if we don't have inventory, right? It sounds kind of crazy, but like, if you don't have anything under contract, how do you expect to fix and flip something? How do you expect to ever own any rental properties? How do you expect to be able to sell a contract, aka a wholesale deal, if you don't have inventory? So you gotta use that time on the phone to set appointments or even to send offers and then go run those appointments at that point in time. I love it. Gavin, you have an awesome program, Cold Calling 101, a course. Let's talk about it real quick.
Yeah, so we built a Cold Calling 101 at the earlier on this year. It's done really good. Got a load of great feedback, and it covers multiple things from why cold calling, the mindset, identifying a cold calling market, building lists, skip tracing, the systems and tools to use, how to actually make the calls, what to say, management and responsibilities of managing the VAs, keeping up with a list. When do we need a new list? Kind of all that stuff. And then I have a bonus section on Mojo as well, that you can actually just give to a VA and they can follow the steps and actually set it all up for you as well. So yeah, it's pretty action packed. It's pretty inexpensive in my opinion for what's out there on the market. I mean, people charge thousands and thousands of dollars.
These courses are for multiple thousands of bucks.
Yeah. So, and I think it's great. It's good information. And I think it's what someone needs. If you have to invest in yourself, right? There's a time where time's money and people need to understand that. And for me, any course that you buy, you've got to implement. If you're going to spend the money, just implement it. Module by module, implement it, and you can get this going pretty quickly. Within a couple of days, you can be rocking and rolling and getting leads coming in, right? And that's the goal. We talked about what you were just rounding up with there, is basically you've got to be brilliant at the basics, right? There's 4 things: marketing, talking to sellers, making offers, and following up. That's it, right? Your systems fit around that to make that possible and more efficient. But if you aren't good at them 4 things, you will not do any deals. And what this is from a lead gen course is going to be phase 1 of getting you in, right, of building this where you can set this up, where you don't have to do it, where leads can come in so you can focus then. Marketing's been taken care of consistently. You focus on them 3 things: talking to sellers, making offers. You just nailed it and said, if you're not making offers, you're not making money. It's a fact. I mean, there's no argument in any one across the country, the world. You have to make an offer if you're going to make money, and then you've got to keep following up. And if you can do that sequence and be very good at it in one market, right, and focus, and that's why I actually talk about identifying a market. If you don't know and don't have a market, if you want to go virtual, that module is going to help you do that. And once you implement this and get it consistent, you're going to understand that if I focus on these quality leads, okay, and do this consistently every day, the outcome will happen, right? Most investors that I see just focus on about doing a deal and making money. And if your time is focused on that and you're not focused on the day-to-day things, the outcome will never happen, right? So it's just rechanneling your thought process here of how can I get this cold call happening for me, right, consistently, so I can focus on them 3 things that are left for me to be successful in making money.
Love it. Guys, go check out reinetwork.com/Dave. And Gavin's got an amazing course. He's given us a discount, which is sweet. And it looks like it's broken up into like 8 or 9 modules with some bonus information in there. But I know for a fact that this is going to be an amazing course because everything Gavin does is amazing. He puts out amazing content and he knows what he's doing. Gavin, how long have you been cold calling? Not necessarily you specifically, but like Have
2016. I kind of
was 5 years going into this thing. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much new to the scene, and we heard about it from a realtor. And you know, Joe at the time said you should check it out. And I remember, obviously, me being me, I just get a list, put it in. I've no idea what I'm doing. I'm just pushing.
Yeah,
and people are answering.
Too.
You know, and there's actually, like, the way I set it up, there's like a sequence to everything. So I set it up where incoming calls are going to voicemail, and that's being tracked. And I have all this sequence that I do, because when I started, I remember I log onto the phone, I dial in, and I start making calls. And it was something like we'd made, in 45 minutes, I'd made 80 dials. I'd made like 20 phone calls. I'd have to send out 15 offers, and I got off the phone, I'd had 18 missed calls. And my head was about to explode. And I'm just like, I called Joe at the time, and I'm like, well, good and bad news, right? Good and bad news. And he's like, what? I was like, this thing is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. And the bad news is it's too much. It's just, I can't, too much going on.
Awesome.
So just a funny, but yeah, when you start building it out and obviously understanding it, it's like, okay, I get this. And that kind of goes away. And yeah, I knew straight away within 45 minutes, okay, this is awesome. How do I get someone else to do it?
I love it.
Sweet.
Gavin, thank you so much for coming on today, teaching us all kinds of golden nuggets on cold calling, guys, where to find the people, what systems to use, you know, the CRMs, what to look for, and really how to do it. Go check out REINetwork.com/Dave. And you guys are going to be able to save, it looks like $200 on the course. And you have this thing competitively priced, Gavin, because again, some of these courses out there are, you know, $1,000, $1,500, even $4,000 for some of these cold calling courses. So love it. This is sweet. And anybody that's interested, I would highly, highly, highly recommend this to you. There should be a link below this video. And if you're watching the podcast or listening on the podcast, REINetwork.com/Dave to get that discount. Gavin, thanks again for coming. We're grateful for you guys and your time. It's always a pleasure. We're going to do this again soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.